So you're standing at the crossroads of the laptop aisle, scrolling through specs that look like a space launch checklist, and you're thinking, do I really need a machine that can run 3D rendering software, stream 4K gaming, and still handle my Zoom calls without breaking a sweat? You've probably heard the hype about the Legion Pro 7i, a 24-core Intel Ultra processor paired with an RTX 5080, an OLED panel that promises 240 Hz, and a mountain of DDR5 memory. The worry, of course, is that you could be throwing $3,000 at a device that sounds amazing on paper but ends up as an expensive paperweight for your day-to-day needs. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's peel back the curtain and see what this laptop actually does when it's sitting on a desk in a regular apartment, not a showroom. The first thing I noticed when I dug into user forums and some longer-form reviews is that the Legion Pro 7i is built around a very specific usage pattern: high framerate competitive play on a 16-inch OLED screen and intensive content creation workloads that can actually tax a 24-core CPU. If you're the type of gamer who lives for the split-second advantage in games like Valorant, CS2, or Apex Legends, the 240Hz OLED panel is a real game-changer. The combination of a deep black level and a 0.1 milliseconds response time means moving a crosshair feels smoother, and the higher refresh rate reduces motion blur enough that you can see enemies a fraction of a second earlier. In real-world tests, people reported that the difference between a 144Hz LCD and this OLED was noticeable, especially in dark maps where older screens would smear the shadows. For a competitive player, that visual clarity directly translates to better reaction times. But that same screen isn't only for shooters. Creative pros who edit video or work with color-critical photography will appreciate the 25601600 resolution and the DCI-P3 color gamut coverage that OLED offers. The laptop can drive a 4K external monitor without any hiccup, so you could have a dual-screen setup where the Legion handles the heavy lifting while a larger display serves as your color grading station. The OLED's high peak brightness also helps when you're in a bright room or near a window. You won't be squinting at a washed-out image. Now, let's talk about the engine under the hood. The 2.7 GHz Intel Ultra 924-core processor isn't just a marketing buzzword. In multitasking scenarios, say, running a game, a streaming encoder, and a couple of background browsers, the CPU's ability to distribute work across many cores shines. Benchmarks from third-party sites show that this chip can sustain high boost clocks under load, meaning you won't see the kind of throttling that older laptop CPUs suffered from when you ran a game and a recording software at the same time. If you're a streamer who wants to capture 1080p 60 gameplay while keeping the chat window open and handling some basic video editing between streams, the CPU's headroom is genuine. That said, the raw power comes with a trade-off. The RTX 5080 16GB GDDR7 graphics card is a beast, but its performance ceiling is only truly realized on the 16-inch screen. When you tether a 4K external monitor and push ultra settings in games like Cyberpunk 2077, even this GPU starts to dip below 60 frames per second. For gamers comfortable with 1440p or 1080p gaming, the laptop will be more than sufficient, but if your expectation is to crank 4K at ultra-high settings forever, you might find the GPU's limits sooner than you'd like. In short, the device excels at its native resolution and will still deliver smooth 1080p experiences on a 4K external screen, but it won't dominate the 4K arena. Heat management is another practical point that often gets glossed over in spec sheets. Lenovo's advanced cooling with smart optimization uses a dual fan system and vapor chamber technology, which sounds fancy until you see it in action. In extended gaming sessions of about 2 hours, the laptop stayed comfortably under 85°C, and the fan settled into a low hum that was barely audible. The system also throttles fans based on workload, so you won't constantly hear a whirring fan while you're typing a document. However, the cooling solution does push the chassis a few millimeters outward, making the bottom of the laptop slightly heavier. If you frequently carry it in a cramped backpack or need a slim footprint for a coffee shop desk, that extra bulk could be a nuisance. Battery life is often a silent deal-breaker for laptop buyers, and here the Legion Pro 7i follows the typical high-performance pattern. With the 80 Wh battery, you can expect roughly 3 to 4 hours of light use, think web browsing, streaming videos, or working on documents, before you need to plug in. Once you hit a demanding game or a rendering task, the runtime drops sharply to about an hour. If you're looking for an all-day workstation that you can toss in a bag and rely on for a full day without a charger, this isn't the model for you. On the flip side, if your primary environment is a fixed gaming